everyone, welcome to Jude's Kitchen. I'm Jude and today I'm going to teach you how to make one of my all-time favourite recipes, Sahlab. Sahlab is, you could say that it's the equivalent of hot chocolate in the Middle East. It's comforting, it's tasty, it's just so good and I know you will love it. This is a super easy recipe, it only requires like 5 ingredients and it's plant-based, gluten-free and can easily become refined sugar-free too. So let's get started. First we're going to start with turning on the hob on a medium heat. I am so excited to share with you my mama's secret recipe because it is beyond phenomenal. By the way guys, if you haven't subscribed yet then please hit the button down below because I will be posting new delicious vegan Middle Eastern recipes every Wednesday, so make sure you stay tuned. And then I'm going to put a whole carton of milk into the saucepan. Plant-based milk of course. So I'm going to be using half cashew, half almond, but I've used it many times with just almond or just oat or just cashew, anything really well. And it doesn't really matter the quality. I bought milk from Aldi that's really cheap and it still was super delicious, so don't worry about getting a fancy one. Honestly, it does not matter. And then we'll add some mystic gum. I know it's not easy to find mystic gum here, so I'll put a link where you can buy it down below. Honestly, it would be such a good investment because it's so delicious and you can buy a pot and it would last you ages. I'll also mention using it in many of my recipes, but if you can't afford to buy some, don't worry. I've made this before and forgot to add some and it was still very tasty. So I added about 7 mystic rocks and as you can see, I crushed them first. My mama used 3 mystic rocks, I used 7. Some people might say it's a bit excessive. Why don't you start with 3 and then see how it goes and adjust it to taste. We've added the Mustka and then we will add 1 cinnamon stick. Also not essential, I just like to use it because it gives a bit of like nice taste to it all, and yeah, I love cinnamon. We'll be using more cinnamon later, so. And then we want to add 3 tablespoons of sugar. So again, as I said, you can easily use, if you want to use, it's 2 to 3 tablespoons, so it's really up to you how much you like it sweet. I'm going to add 3, but as I said, you can use any sugar you want. I'm using brown here, but you can use agave, you can use use dates even if you don't want refined sugar, which is completely understandable because it's not exactly the best thing for us. And then we just mix it about. And now we're just going to wait for the milk to warm up. And now while we're waiting for the milk to warm up, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of corn flour. And then add some cold water to it. So as you can see here, you just fill up a glass of cold water and add 1 tablespoon of corn flour. This is to make it more to give it a creamy texture and to bind it together. Right, so you can see here that the milk is warmed up, and what we need to do now is we need to add the corn flour, but slowly, don't add it all at once. So we add it slowly and then we mix it a bit more. So now you're just going to keep adding the corn flour in stages and mixing the sahlab for a good 10 to 15 minutes or until it thickens up. What I usually do is I make it while I'm making another recipe. I'll leave it on the hob, go chop some veg, come back, stir it a bit, add more corn flour and then go chop more veg, just so I'm not on the hob doing just this. So let's add a bit more. And you're just going to keep adding and mixing for 10 to 15 minutes until it gets creamy. And just keep stirring it. And adding some more. Add a teaspoon of cinnamon, or you can wait to do that at the end of the recipe, or you can do it at both. I love it cinnamony, so I like it to cook with it, so it makes it really, really ingrained with it, and then when you drink it you can't help but taste the cinnamon. But if you don't like cinnamon, you don't have to add it, but I mean, cinnamon is so tasty. I would add it to everything if I could. I mean, in Palestine we even add cinnamon to like a lot of our main meals, like stuffed vine leaves and maqlube upside down. So yeah, the only thing with cinnamon is that sometimes it gets a bit clunky, so just make sure you mix all of that really well until there's no more clumps. You can see it's already getting a bit creamier and a bit browner, which I think gives it a really nice colour. Alright, and just keep mixing it until it's creamier. And now this is really how you want it to look like when half of it has evaporated and it's gone to quite a creamy, nice texture. You can give it a taste, see if this is how you like it. If it's not sweet enough, you can add more sweet. If it's not creamy enough, then you can add more corn flour mixed with cold water first, of course, and then you pour it in slowly as we did at the beginning. And yeah, this is really what gives it the creamy texture. Oh yeah, that smells so good. You will love this, guys. And then I'm going to use some crushed nuts. I'll use almonds and walnuts, but you can use any nuts you want. You can use pecans, you can use pistachios. Also, you can add some desiccated coconuts on top and a bit of cinnamon. To make a chilled version of this, which is so good and refreshing, especially on hot days, chill it for a few hours or overnight and then add it to a glass with a couple of ice cubes. If you want to make the Bailey's version of this, just add a bit of amaretto at the end and mix it well. And don't forget, if you try to make this, then let me know, send me a picture or tag me on social media. And as we say in Arabic, صحتين وعافية. And we're all done. I really hope that you guys liked this recipe. To be fair, I never made it for someone without them absolutely falling in love with it. It's just so comforting and so delicious, and even the cold version of it is so refreshing, it's so cooling, and it's perfect for summer. You could even make a batch, which is what I usually do at night. Have it in the evening after dinner as a dessert, and then you store it in the fridge, and then the next day when it's actually super hot, I just put some ice cubes, whack it in, and it's honestly so good. And as I said before, if you want to make it Bailey's like, you can just add a little bit of amaretto and then you've got yourself a little Bailey's. So you should definitely give it a go. To be fair, this recipe never fails to take me back to that feeling of being home. That feeling of being a child and all taken care of. My mama used to make this every time it's exceptionally cold. We would huddle next to the heater while watching some wholesome family movie. The smell of it has so much nostalgia and so much nostalgia. Nostalgia. I can't say it right. Sahlab actually used to be made of a plant. It's not anymore. It used to be made from orchid, which I know vanilla is also made from orchids. Although, fun fact, did you know that only like 1% of all vanilla in the world is actually made of vanilla? Everything else is just made in a lab, just because it's so easily replicated. And it means that we won't have to abuse orchids. So yeah, going back to that point, this is exactly why we stopped using orchids for making sahlab. It's because obviously us as humans, we overexploited that plant and it was very close to extinction. So now people make sahlab without it. Sahlab in the past used to be made for soldiers just before they went into battle, and the reason behind that is because sahlab is full of nutrients. Really used to believe that it used to give a lot of stamina for people, which is why they gave it to soldiers before battle. Sahlab is still quite healthy, and especially mustka. So if you do end up buying mustka, which I genuinely do recommend you buy a pot, because yes, it's a little bit expensive, but I promise you that pot will stay with you forever. I always buy some from Palestine, and honestly I've still got, like, I use a little bit in every dessert and I've still got loads. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that you buy some. I've posted a link below which you can have a look at, and yeah, I will be using it in many of my other recipes. Another tip I would say is to make it super delicious is to make your own plant-based milk. Making your own plant-based milk is actually so much simpler than anyone thinks. A lot of people think that it's a lot of faff, but honestly I think it's super easy. If you make your own almond milk with this, it will be beyond phenomenal. Almonds, I mean, I might say that because almonds are my favorite thing in the world. Growing up in Palestine, in our back garden, we used to have all sorts of trees. I think we had like 7 olive trees, 3 fig trees, 2 grape trees. We just had so many trees, and my favorite trees were almonds. We had 3 almond trees, and they produced so many almonds. We spent most of spring and summer just eating them. In spring, almonds would be very fairy and green, and you would eat them with the skin. They taste very sour. They have a very interesting taste to it. We usually dip it in salt, and it is honestly so good. It's very different to the taste of normal almonds that anyone would have tried or bought from the shop. In the summer, we would eat it, we would crush it and eat the inside, which is usually what you would find in a normal shop, except it tastes a million times better because it's so fresh. And honestly, I think I spent a big time of my childhood climbing on trees and eating off the land. We used to go for picnics in our back garden, me and my sister and my best friends growing up, and we just used to go all around the garden. Everyone would go, you go get some almonds, you go get some mulberry, you go get some. We'd like all go to different trees and like get lots of loquat and mulberry and all sorts of, yeah, it's beyond amazing. That's how we spent most of our summers in Palestine, climbing on trees and eating off it, because I genuinely think that one of my favorite things in the world is to eat stuff fresh off the tree. I always thank it, of course. Maybe I didn't as much as a child. I would just be climbing and like eating it. Yeah, and that's one thing I miss in England. Like, although you do have many trees, like apple trees and berries, I find it that people almost never have producing trees, while in Palestine producing trees is a big staple. Like if you have a garden, you're definitely going to have a producing tree, because why not? You would have lemons and pomelo and pomegranate and figs and olives and mulberries and loquat, and oh my god, I could go on forever. It's heaven for producing trees. At least it's heaven, and everything has a season. So for example, in September, October, November, it's citrus season in Jericho. So we've also got different seasons depending on what area, just because we have so much biodiversity and so many different climates. So for example, in Jericho, which is the lowest city on earth, I think it's like minus 360 something below sea level, while Ramallah, which is where I grew up, is like 900 above sea level. So going from Ramallah to Jericho, which is 40-minute drive, you're going more than 1,000 meters down, so your ears will definitely feel it. But it's also one of the most beautiful journeys, because you're all surrounded by those beautiful mountains. Like, I don't think anyone that's ever gone there weren't absolutely blown away by the beautiful mountains. And although the road there is a bit scary, we call it Marajat, which is like the twisty, snaky way, and you're like there where there's like a massive cliff next to you and the road is quite small and you're like, woo! Definitely my foreigner friends get very scared every time they go there. I'm used to it. All Palestinians are used to it. So going down from Ramallah to Jericho, you can really tell the difference between all the different climates. Like Ramallah is very filled with fig trees, filled with olive trees, many olive trees. And then as soon as you start leaving Ramallah, you'd start getting like a bit more shrubs and rocks and stuff like that. And then you would become, and then all of a sudden they'd be all completely bare mountains. But what I'm saying is that we have different seasons because of how much biodiversity there is. For example, in Jericho, the producing season for citrus fruits like pomelo, grapefruit, oranges, lemons, all of those are in September, October, November, even stretches all the way to December, January, while the season for citrus fruits in places like Qalqilia and Jenin and Tul Karim is more like very much from December until maybe like February, March. So it's really nice because it means that we can get citrus fruits from November to March and they're all in season. And of course, having fruit and vegetables in season is vital because all these fruits and vegetables are designed designed to have certain properties to help us in that season. So for example, watermelons in summer very much hydrates us, very much cools us down, while for example cabbage in winter very much grounds us and warms us up. Palestine is very seasonal. You have very specific seasons. So you've got winter, it's got citrus fruit, of course, as I said, and then you've got cauliflower, you've got cabbage, and when you eat things in season, they taste so good. And we've got certain seeds called heirloom seeds, which are very different to normal seeds. These seeds, they are the bomb. Like, they are so good. When you find a fruit or veg that is in season in Palestine and an heirloom season, it's phenomenal. That's definitely one of the most things I miss about Palestine. Like, yes, in England you can go to organic shops, but nothing tastes as good as when that fruit and veg are in season and when they are all heirloom seeds. I don't know if I've been waffling and talking too much about Palestine. I personally love talking about Palestine, could keep talking for hours and hours, but obviously I don't want to talk too much about it. If you guys are interested to know more about Palestine, then definitely let me know in the comments down below, and I'm more than happy to share with you a video just about Palestine, the feeling of it, the culture, the music, everything. Honestly, I would much rather if this channel was so much more than just about recipes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and to follow me on all the social media outlets, and I'll see you next time.